Hello there, welcome back to the channel. Thank you very much for joining me today. Here we are back in Planet Zoo and we are in our town project today. So this is my project without animals, although there may be some animals in it later on. But yeah, this is me attempting to build an entire town within Planet Zoo just by being creative and coming up with as many different building ideas as I can, basically. So what have we done so far? We've done our county hall first, which is certainly my favourite part so far. I then did a few sort of different styles of office buildings. We have an office here, a large one on the corner. We have a little cafe, and then we have a shop, Pots R Us, on the corner here as well. And we also then did a big block of flats over here, the Apple Apartments. So today's project is going to be in this area just here, and it's a small supermarket. It becomes essentially what am I trying to say? Like a wine and alcohol market, and I'll explain why it becomes that in the end. But that was my idea. I just wanted to fill this gap in. I wasn't happy with this road structure here because it just didn't make any sense. The angle of this road is fine from this direction, but obviously if you were coming around this way, then there's no way you could make that turn. So I was thinking I needed to make the road come in here as well, and because of the shape that it made, I then thought I might as well make it into a roundabout, which is what I was originally going to do here. If you remember back in, I think the episode after the county hall, so the second episode, I did have the idea of putting in a roundabout here, and it didn't work. However, this time I did it and it does work, and then I build my supermarket here. So that's what we're going to be looking at today. So let me move on straight away and show you what I did just to this bit of road here. So this is our roundabout. It was pretty straightforward in the end. I just had to reshape the edge here to make it make it the right shape so that cars could realistically actually get around all these corners. And then in the middle I just made a very simple roundabout, very much simpler compared to what I was trying to do the first time round. So this was just a simple round curb with some soil in the middle, and then I just I rotated these flowers around it as well, but then because it looked too symmetrical, I just went around and I just turned a load of the flowers around just so that it breaks up the repetitive pattern a bit. And I also put a few little ferns and nettles in here as well, just to break it up and make it look like it needs a little bit of weeding. I didn't want it to look too perfect, because places like this, this is something we do a lot in England. We have a lot of roundabouts with flowers and things in, and some of them are looked after really, really well, and some of them are neglected a bit. So you would find maybe somewhere with flowers but with some nettles and weeds and things coming up as well. So that's what I've done there, and a tree in the middle as well. We often have trees in the middle of our roundabouts. So obviously I've made sure it's something tall rather than wide, because you wouldn't want it sticking out into the roads. So that was my thinking behind that. And then once I've done this, I was looking at it and I didn't like the roads, I'll be honest. I didn't like that they were too blank, because of course they're missing road markings. And so I do put road markings down, which I can't remember. I think I do that in this episode. It may even be in the next save point, I'm not too sure. But that was it. That was my roundabout in, and then the supermarket will be going into this corner here. So let me load up the next bit and we'll see what I do. It's either the start of the building or possibly the road markings, or maybe even both. I honestly can't remember. Let's have a look. Well, there we go. We've done a bit of both. So the building is starting. Well, I'll get onto that in a minute. But first, the road markings. So in England, we have white road markings. Generally, they're just down the centre, and then when you get to junctions, you have the single and double line. So the double, I think I've done this right anyway, the double lines basically says to stop. So we drive on the left hand side in England, so you'd be driving up here, and the double line here tells you that this is a place where you have to stop and wait for the road in front of you to be clear. And then the single line here is to show that that is an entry point, and so as you are coming along here or from around here, you could just continue through there. So I've done that around here. This wasn't too bad. I just used this same building here, and I duplicated the what is it? These are like the little art pieces out here to create this perfect circle around the roundabout, and then the rest of it is all just just single pieces just sunk in. Obviously not finished yet. Still got some more to do over here. But yeah, so you can see where I'm coming from. Now the other sort of road markings that we do use a lot in the UK are alongside the curbs, where generally we have yellow lines. We have single yellow lines and double yellow lines, and sometimes there's other types as well. I may go back and add some of those in at some point, but for now I haven't, because I just think it may be a bit overcomplicated to do that, certainly around the corners. I think it's going to be pretty tricky. I mean, as it is, it's kind of tricky. Like a corner like this is not quite how it would go. It would be more curved, but it's very hard to do the curves in the game without just using a lot more pieces, using lots of smaller pieces to make the curb. And I don't think it's going to look sorry, the curve, not the curb. I don't think it's going to look particularly good, so I'm not worrying too much about it. If there has to be a few sharp edges like that, then so be it. So there we go. So that's my road markings, and I definitely think it looks better like that. It looks more like a finished road system. So I'm very happy that I did decide to do that in the end. And this is the start of our supermarket. So it's pretty straightforward, just some breeze block at the bottom, some glass roof. I've put this at an angle here because I want the roof to kind of be overhanging eventually out the sides here, and then these nice brick pillars at the edge. And of course the challenge with having the glass panels here, which is the same problem that I had with my shop over here, is that you need to be able to see inside. So my thinking with this was that I would use the same technique that I used for this door here and for these windows over here, where you have the media screens inside, and I would put on pictures of food and drinks and stuff like that to make it look like a supermarket. So that was my intention, which we'll get to later, and you'll see why it ends up being like it is. But yeah, so this is my building. So my thinking was that I wanted the entrance to be here, so then the building would then duplicate on this side as well, and then around the back I was going to do sort of a backstage car parky sort of cargo delivery area as well. So that all gets done, but that was just my first part of the building here, just getting the basic look going. I wasn't too sure whether I had used too many materials, because you've got brick, you've got wood, you've got glass, and then you've got sort of stone, brick, breeze blocky stuff at the bottom. So there's 4 different materials there, but actually I think it does work. You often do find that on this sort of modern supermarket building, they will often use a lot of different materials, obviously depending on certain bits. Like the breeze block at the bottom is purely for structural purposes, and then these bricks would be built probably around some sort of iron girders for the actual structure of the building, and then the glass obviously and the wood here would be just for decoration to make it look nice. And you might well find that they would cover up the breeze blocks with something, probably plaster, but in this case I thought I'd just leave it like that because I like the look of it. So there we go. Right, so let me load up the next bit and excuse me, and see what we got up to next. Okay, so a bit of progress made here. You can see I've constructed my entrance. This was tricky because I wanted to use a new type of door, and there aren't, like I've said before, there are not many doors in the game, certainly nothing big like this that looks suitable for this sort of building. So this isn't a door, basically. This here is what's it, modern glass wall panel, basically. So there's 2 of them side by side, and then there are just planks. These are just black planks of wood put here to make it look like door handles. And then I've just framed them with some fences. So this is actually a fence that I've just put sideways and put up the side with a nice bit of modern woodwork at the top here as well. And then you've got this entrance sign along here. And I think it looks pretty good. I think it looks like a door. So even though it's not a door, you and I both know it's not a door. For me, it's close enough. You'll also notice that the entrance sign is levitating in the air. which actually stays like that because I wanted it like that. I wanted it hovering over here. I didn't want it attached to the back. I wanted it out the front here. But I tried putting some little beams and things through it to make it look like it was being held in place, and it just didn't look good at all. It just messed up the actual writing too much. So I'm just leaving it like that, and I'm just going to pretend that there are sort of not invisible but see-through poles or something holding the letters in place. So you and I both know that they're just floating, but don't tell anyone, eh? So there we go. So that's my entrance, and obviously you can see the main structure of the building goes all the way around to here now. Had a little bit of corruption with the floor inside, so I do sort that out. I just have to take this flooring and move it in a little bit. So that was a pretty easy thing to solve. So inside you'll see that I have some shelving. So this is exactly what I said before. So these are media boards, and I just downloaded a few pictures of drinks on shelves basically. So yeah, there we go. And so that's why it ended up being like it is, because these were the best pictures I could find. Nothing else really worked. I tried finding pictures of various foodstuffs on shelves, but they were all sort of angled, kind of slanted away, which was not an easy thing to try and manipulate to make it look good in here. So I just decided to make it an alcohol supermarket, and so that's what it is. I'm not too fussed. I'm not worried about interiors for these buildings. Interiors is not something that I'm good at. There are some people out there that are brilliant at building interiors, but I'm not. So obviously, like this supermarket doesn't have tills in it, for example, or checkouts, as some people would call them. I'm guessing it's one of those new supermarkets. I think is it Google or Apple or something have supermarkets now where you just use your phone and it knows what you've put in your basket and it charges your account for whatever you buy. So there aren't actually any tills. So I'm going to say that this supermarket is one of those, just because I didn't want to have to build some tills inside there. But it just creates a bit of an effect, doesn't it? I think it looks pretty good. Just makes it look like there's actually shelves in there stocked with drinks. So yeah, I'm happy with that. It's fine. And it looks better once obviously the roof is finished and I do some lighting interior and stuff like that. So yeah, it does look better in the end, but that's my basic principle. Obviously, the roof is not going to stay like this. This is just your internal roof, so this does continue across the whole thing. Actually, height-wise, it worked out perfectly because the shelves go right up to the top here, which looks pretty cool. So yeah, so this is just your flat roof that continues to cover it from looking at the inside, and then I build a new roof on top of that for the exterior, which looks really good actually. I was very happy with how that turned out. Which is probably what I do next. I'm not sure. At the back here, I wasn't too sure what I was doing, but obviously I wanted some kind of different wall here because there was then going to be some warehouse space behind it, obviously storage for the supermarket, and then a car park area back here as well, or a loading bay for sort of deliveries and things. But yeah, there we go. That's where we are so far. I was very happy with the shape and the look of the building so far. But plenty more to do, so let's move on. So just a small update here. You can see that I've finished the roof and I've done some internal lighting. So I found these lights. These are, what are these ones? The hanging lamp, Planet Zoo hanging lamp. So they're pretty basic things, but this is exactly the sort of thing that you would find in a supermarket, or certainly in an older supermarket. Actually, modern ones would more likely have those sort of flat panel lights. But they don't really exist in the games, so I went with these ones. These are probably sort of 80s, 90s, early 2000s era lights, but they worked for what I wanted. So they've just gone in down the aisles like that, and along the front here as well. So let me just go to nighttime and see what it looks like. I think it looks alright. It lights it up nicely, doesn't it? Makes it look like a bit more of a shop. Makes it look a bit more welcoming as well. Actually, what does the rest of our town look like at night? It's not looking too bad, is it? Now, one thing I can't actually remember if I did in the last episode was show you this building at night, because I have purposely gone around and I've turned off some of these lights, and I've also put some different coloured lights in this building, just to make it look a bit different, like some people are having a disco or something. I don't know, I just wanted to do something so it looked like at night time there were some people not in it and some people with different shades, different curtains or whatever, that were just creating a slightly different shade of light. So yeah, nothing fancy, but I don't remember if I showed you that or not in the last episode, but there we go, just a little detail that I added in there. And the rest of these are all fairly straightforward. They've all got their basic lit up windows on. So yeah, it looks alright at night actually. It looks quite welcoming. I like these nice bright lights over the door here and the sign over here. And our council building is looking fairly subdued, but that's fine because it wouldn't really be used at night anyway, would it? Whereas our supermarket is likely to be open well into the evening, especially selling alcohol. So yeah, I think that's looking pretty good so far. Right, let's just take it back to daytime. Okay, so let's move on then. I can't remember what I do next. I think I do the backstage area next, but let's load up my next save point and find out. Okay, quite a lot done in this cut. So you can see I've put in the basic shape at the back here of what I wanted for the warehouse area. Obviously a lot more detailing is still to be done with that. The roof is in. So this is a lot of pieces. It's quite a simple roof, but it took me a little while just to get the bends right. But luckily these new pieces, this is, let's have a look, what is this piece? The European Bridge Arch Stone Trim. There we go, yes, because it's shaped like that, it's quite easy to get them into a nice pattern, snaking up and down like this. So that's what I've done. So it's just a continuous snaking pattern all the way along, and then it's duplicated sideways many times from one end to the other. So very straightforward, that part of it. The more complicated part was this piece at the end. Just because of the shape, it was quite tricky using all these square pieces to fill in this end piece, but I think it looks okay. It's not quite perfect. I could use more pieces and really get these tiny little gaps filled in. Actually, that gap there is quite significant, isn't it? So I should fill that in. It's not on these other ones. It's just on that one by the looks of it. Yeah, I just need to manipulate that a tiny little bit, don't I? Don't know why that one is different to the rest when they're all copied. It may just be that I needed to move this whole segment just to the right a little bit. Yeah, I think that's what's happened. I think it just needs to move over, doesn't it? That's fine. I can sort that out at a later date. But yeah, so that's at both ends, just to fill in that gap. And I kind of like I like the look of this from the front. You see this a lot again in England. You see this sort of thing a lot, where you have a roof that overhangs a certain amount at the front of shops. It's a very common thing to see. So yeah, I think that looks pretty nice from here. Pretty pleased with that. So I'll continue the lights, as you can see as well, along the side here and around the front. And this is something that you see outside of a lot of shops, certainly supermarkets. You see these bollards. And that is, believe it or not, to stop people from ramming their cars into the glass and stealing from the shop. You wouldn't believe how much that actually happens in this country. Yeah, it's pretty mad that people will just go in the middle of the night and they will just drive their car through the window, load up as much stuff as they can from the shop and drive away. So you'll often find these bollards along the front of buildings like this, specifically to stop people from doing that. So that is what I've put them in for, and I love these bollards. They're lovely little pieces. It is actually a classic bollard. So yes, so they are really helpful pieces, and exactly custom built basically for what I wanted along the front of the glass here. So there we go. So that is that. I've actually got a fun story to tell you. I'm going to tell you my little story. I'm sorry if you don't want to hear this, but I'm going to tell you anyway. I used to work in the town, and there was a large construction project going on, and I was working in a shop at the time, and I had to go in really early one morning. It was about 4:30 in the morning. I had to go in, and we were getting ready for a new sale and doing some work before the shop opened. And yeah, so just down the road there was a big construction site with diggers and all sorts of things like that. And I parked in the car park that I always use. I walked down the road around the corner, and as I walked around the corner towards my shop, I saw a JCB digger. So for anyone that's not from England, JCB is just the make of the digger. It's a massive dig, proper big, like a tractor type thing, that had been stolen from the construction site and had been driven into the front of our local bank. And the people had driven in, smashed the cash machine, or the ATM as some people know it, and they'd loaded it up on the back of a truck and driven away with it. And it all happened just minutes before I got there, because the front of this bank was still collapsing at the time that I actually walked around the corner and saw this digger in the front. So we had to call the police and give statements and all this sort of thing. It was quite a bizarre thing to witness. It was very strange. But that is exactly why these buildings put these bollards along the front now, and because this sort of thing does happen a lot in this country. So there we go. So that is my little story of when I saw a bulldozer in the front of a bank. There we go. I'm glad I've told you that. You're probably not. But there we go. I thought I'd like to share that sort of thing with you. Right, anyway, shall we move on and see what I did next? I'm guessing it's mostly this backstage stuff that I've got left to do now. So let's load up my next segment and see what was next. Right, our backstage is coming together nicely here. So I went with the basic roof. What is this one? The metal clad roof. I chose this because not only does it look functional, it looks nice and sort of warehousey, but it was a nice contrast to the colour of this one. So you've got the dark and the light contrasting there. I've put in 3 of these lovely loading bay doors. These are perfect for this sort of behind the scenes stuff. So these are sort of roller doors, so they would roll up into the top, and you could either get a van going right inside, or you could just offload onto a little dumper truck or whatever and wheel your stuff in there. Got a few air conditioning units up here. We have our doors and our windows with our few little details. You've got little plug sockets outside here. You've got a switch here and a light, and you've got a few windows there. Nothing on this wall, that one's staying empty. I've also capped off these pillars with these stone pillar tops. I think these are called. What are they called? What's the word I'm looking for? A cap, that's the word I'm looking for. A column cap, there we go. And I think I do use them. I can't remember if I use them on these posts here, along here, or not. Actually, I don't think I do in the end. I think I tried it at one point and it didn't look right, so I don't think I did actually. And as you can see out here, obviously I have manipulated the road to give it a nice wide entrance here so that trucks can pull in around the corner here. Obviously got the angled light on the corner here as well. So still more to do. Obviously I wanted to create a fence around here with sort of parking bays here. I wanted some sort of gate as well. I think I can't remember if I put a gate on or not. I think I might have tried a gate and I didn't actually like what it looked like, so I think I've left this open, but it's got fencing and it's got signs and things. I also do some guttering around this building here, which is something that I haven't really done yet actually around these buildings. I may go back and try and do some guttering. I know this one here has got the drainage pipe off the side, so you've got the gutter pipe there and the little drain pipe here. But I don't think, no, I have not done it on these ones. No, there's no drainage. So this roof here would flood quite quickly, wouldn't it? So I could probably do with some drainage pipes or at least some vents on that one. I think this is the same actually. Yeah, there's nothing on this one yet either. So I might have to go back at some point and add in a few extra drainage things. And this one here, the rain just pours off, I think. And falls down to the alleyways and the streets below. Probably shouldn't. The problem is the guttering that we have in the game is very small, and actually if you put it on a big building like this, I don't think it would look right. And it may look a bit dodgy around these corners as well, but I could try it at some point. I may go back and do that. Because I do want to, I do want to do detail in these buildings. I want detail. So stuff like that is stuff that I really ought to do Sometimes it's very time consuming and you don't get a lot of reward out of it. So I quite often get sort of antsy, you know, I want to move on and do my next building rather than detailing the previous one to the nth degree kind of thing. So which I need to tell myself off for and make sure I do actually go back and do all the detailing that I think about doing. So yeah, we'll see if and when I get to that. But first, let's move on with this building here, shall we? And I think I've just got a couple more save points while I get this backstage area finished off. Right, well this is actually our last save point. So our building is now done. So let me just start around the front. I don't think I've added anything around it. Yes, I have, just a little bit. I put in a, oh, excuse me for the dodgy camera work. I have put in a security camera up here because, you know, you do get security cameras all over town centres. They're usually pretty obvious like that. So I've done that there. I think I've put some more of them around here as well. So this machine here, so this is a cash machine. So what I've had to do here is sink a bit of pathway into the ground and put a couple of these cash machines on, and then I built this back bit here. So these are just these New World signs, and I've just used them to create this sort of cube effect, and then I put one of these ATM signs at the top there, so it looks like a nice cash point there, so you can stop off and get your money. Because I had this big blank wall and I didn't really know what to do with it, and I just thought, yeah, it made sense, that would be a perfect spot for a cash point. Purposely made sure it wasn't in the middle of, it's in the middle of the whole wall, not in the middle of this bit here. I don't know why, I just thought it looked better being in the middle of these pillars. So that's what I've done there. And this is our backstage bit. I was pretty pleased with this actually. It's turned out okay. So what have I done? Let's look at the building first. So like I said, I have put on some guttering. So what I've had to do, got a bit of steam coming out of this vent here as well. What I had to do, because obviously the gutter up here hangs out quite away from where the wall is, because you've got this extra trim along the outside of the roof here. And of course these down pipes have the little detail at the back here where they're screwed onto the wall. So what you have to do is make sure the wall comes out far enough. So I've had to put extra pillars in here for the gutters to run down and into the ground. So the guttering comes along, goes all the way along here. You've then got another down pipe at the end. So again, I had to put an extra column of bricks in here so that this pipe can be attached to it. And then I've done the same on this side as well. Again, you've got the extra column there with the guttering going along and out to here. So there we go. That all looks pretty nice. You've got a little pile of pallets stored in the corner here. Around the outside I made a small brick fence with this lovely wooden fencing on top. I love these pieces. I don't know if these have always been in the game or if they're new in one of the expansions. I'm not sure, but they're really nice for this sort of atmosphere where you're just trying to create a backstage area, because they look very backstagey, you know. They're functional basically, this sort of fence, and this is the sort of fence that you would get in a place like this. I did a little bit of detailing down here with this moss, just meant to look like you've got some, this is a sort of a dark shady corner where you'd get some moss growing on the floor, so that's in there. I quite liked that. And then like I said, I did try and do a gate here, but it didn't really work, so I just left it with the fence, and I've had the fence sort of stick out on each side here as well. Luckily this just about works here with the pavement. It comes around the back and meets this wall here. It just sticks through a little bit there actually, but I don't mind that too much. That's okay. And then a couple of these no entry signs on here, and obviously I did a big no entry on the floor as well. Now the idea of that is that it's no entry to the public basically, but obviously if you're a delivery driver, you know you're allowed to go in. That's the idea. So you've got your no entry sign, but the drivers know otherwise. And then on the building here you've also got a couple of security cameras there, just keeping an eye on everything. Of course there has to be one on each corner, because this camera here couldn't see round here and this camera here wouldn't be able to see over here, so you have to have one on each pillar. And then just a little bit more detailing outside here. I coloured this switch red. I put a little ladder leaning against the wall here. I found that, I quite like that as a little detail. And a bike as well, so someone's cycled to work and has left their bike out the back there. You've also got a few lights up on the wall here and another security camera. Places like this would be flooded with security cameras because they're backstage areas, you would have, you'd have all of this area covered all the time. Basically, you'd have probably this one here would just be looking at this area at the door. So if there were people in here trying to break in, you'd get pictures of their face or their faces on that camera there, while this one here would probably be looking this way towards the entrance, and then this one here would be covering this area over here. Ooh, there we go. I might have overthought those cameras a bit, but hey, that's what I do. And then just continued the pathway over on this side here as well. So there we go. Now, one thing I do wish we had more of in the game was vehicles. They have added in a couple of things in the facilities now, but they're functional ones, not decorative. So you've got, what have we got? We've got a big bus, so I may use a big bus at some point. I mean, it looks okay, it's relatively detailed, but obviously it does have that big bit on the side there, which is open, because I think you can put a shop in it, which is a bit weird. You've got a, what is this? It's like a ferry, isn't it? It's a boat of some sort, which works as an entrance, so people will actually spawn in the back there. So yeah, that's interesting. And then this is quite a cool little thing. I will definitely use this somewhere in my town. It's like a little ice cream van basically, and again it's open at the side, so you can put a shop in it and actually have people working in it. But that's all we've got, which is a shame, because I'd like more vehicles, and then I could actually have some things parked in here. Actually, there is the Jeep as well, isn't there? I think in here. Is it Jeep? No, it's not, is it? I can't remember what it's called. Is it van? No. Truck? No. Car? I could go on forever, couldn't I? I know there is one. I'm sure there's like a jungle Jeep or something, isn't there? So that might come in at some point. I might use them, but there's only so many Jeeps you can have in one town before it starts looking ridiculous. There we go. Right, so there we go. So that is my supermarket. It's not spectacular, but it's what I needed. Oh yes, there's guttering on the back as well. I forgot about that. It's what it needed to be. It's a functional building. It looks fancy where it needs to look fancy. So this is obviously open to the public here. So that's what the public see, and I think that actually looks really nice. I'm really pleased with how this roof turned out. So I think if you had that in the middle of your town centre, I think you'd think, yep, that's a decent looking building. We don't mind that being there. And then obviously as you get around the back here, it's a bit more functional and backstagey, which is what it needed to look like. And I like the insides as well. I could do more detailing on the interior, but I'm not going to. That's just not what I do. It's not what I'm trying to do in this game. Maybe at some point in the future I will do more interiors, but for now I am focused on exteriors and the occasional window. Yeah, so there we go. So that's my supermarket. Let me know what you think. Please, if you've liked the video, please do hit the like button as well. That would really help me out on the channel here, get more people in. And yeah, hopefully you've enjoyed the episode. Let me know what you think of my supermarket and my town so far, because it's coming together, isn't it? So what can I tell you about the next episode? Spoilers, I have already done a load more building. So I believe the next episode is going to be this area here, and it is a small community park with a small pond. So there we go. So that is going to be our next episode. But until then, let's leave it there for now, and I will just leave you with a view of the front of our little supermarket. There we go. Actually, do you know what? I've just realised the next episode is not the park. I've lied. I lied to you. The park will be the episode after next. The next episode, I've just remembered, is actually in this area here. And it is a large corner office building that I put in here. Because I can remember looking at this thinking, I need to do this bit because it looks messy. I don't like it empty like that. So actually, yes, my next episode is going to be a large corner office building that I build in here. A big sort of triangular building. And then the episode after that is going to be the park over here. There we go. So you can tell I do a lot of building before I do the recording. So I'm often quite ahead of myself with the construction. So there we go. You've got a double spoiler there. Aren't you lucky? Right. So I will have to leave it there before I give away any more spoilers. So there we go. Thank you very much for joining me. I hope you stay well and look after yourselves. And I will hopefully see you again very soon. Until then, bye for now.